Yep. Well, there we are. Another year in the bin. I'd say the bag, but that bag's just going in the bin. Gorzak, if you could sum up 2024, how would you do so? Oh, for God's sake, we practiced this. Mate. Cool.
Nothing can stop him. Gorzak, you speak.
Swing your axe!
Gorzak obeys.
Attack!
It's the top 10 shittiest games of 2024, everyone. What games are going to be on it? Funko Fusion, maybe? Yes, Funko Fusion. But what 9 other lucky fuckers are going to make the list? Take it away, Skeletor. Jesus. You done?
Look out!
Concord!
You're still mad at me?
It really is a shame that the nerdses crawled all over Concord, because anyone else who dislikes it gets painted with the same brush and assumed to be one of the anti-woke outrage tourists obsessed with DEI and who get angry at games when they don't want to fuck the women in them, as if their desperation for human contact would allow them such exclusionary standards in real life. The hijacking of Concord discussions really took away from the actual problems behind a game so ill-advised it was pulled from sale just 11 days after launch. Problems that, unlike pronouns, are well worth dissecting as they pertain to the entire mainstream game industry. And they're, you know, actual problems. Concord was a wholly inadequate hero shooter that, despite being fundamentally derivative, felt different from other games because they tried to make it mechanically quirky with disastrous results. Playing it always felt off in some way, like an FPS that ever so slightly drifted out of reality. The same as any other game of its kind, yet different in absolutely zero positive sense. Character abilities were convoluted and never quite felt effective, with support roles particularly suffering. As a seasoned support player myself, I'm not sure I've played a game with worse healers, certainly not one where they're so distinctly unfun to use. Then again, I couldn't grasp this game at all, and I'm actually not all that bad at online shooters. I've never failed to gel with a game this badly before, and I still can't quite explain it. On top of that, Concord was defective in the worst way possible. It was completely charmless. One of the biggest appeals of hero shooters is the, you know, heroes. But these heroes weren't appealing at all. Most dialogue stopped at the purely functional, as characters referred to their current activities without any flavour, catchphrases, or basic clues as to their personalities. When you selected one to play, they'd say things like, "That's right," instead of literally anything more charismatic than saying, "That's right." They were visually designed to hit every idea of cool a marketing department could have, and the result was an aesthetic that looked focus tested to hell and factory standardized. It was gone in less than 2 weeks, the ultimate parody of the damage done by the live service gold rush, emblematic of an intensely problematic industry run by executive morons who have no clue about the very market they're supposedly leading. Concord never stood a fucking chance. An expensive albatross that arrived far too late. It was a fucking shambles. Suicide Squad! There are far worse games I played this year than Suicide Squad. In fact, at a Steph given 6.5, it's one of my highest scoring shittiest games entries ever. Shitty, however, means many things, as I've stressed in previous years, and in terms of being a half-baked live service that showcases the problems with modern mainstream games, Suicide Squad, Please Could You Kill the Justice League for Me, is worthy. It ain't a good game. Visually hard to comprehend, just a disaster of special effects, off-screen enemies, and endless HUD warnings. Controls are a bizarre joke, trying to do far too much as player characters have been stuffed with commands. To simply jump, you need to press the dodge button and click the left analog stick at the same time. Yeah. That's how badly the player actions are competing for real estate. Several entries this year can be typified by their lack of gameplay. Suicide Squad goes too far the other way, smashing together all sorts of systems and mechanics to an overwhelming degree and doing none of them all that well. It all works, but in a desperate sort of way. One thing that didn't work was the game itself, at launch. And yes, it was at launch, not before launch, because the whole play before launch thing publishers keep pushing is a racket. Look, the day a game launches is the day a game launches, no matter how many times the industry tries to rebrand the concept of launch day as part of a despicable fucking grift. Despite being single player, the game had been tied to an online connection. Said connection was not connected before the game's advertised launch date of February 2nd, which meant it wasn't connected on the real launch of January 29th, where those who paid extra to get several days of supposed early access found out they couldn't access a damn thing. Really shows how much of a fucking nothing you're buying when you get something that quickly becomes, well, fucking nothing very quickly. And that is exactly what this perverted new form of early access is. Fucking nothing. Also, the fact deluxe editions of games are being sold almost exclusively on the basis of this grift now is a whole other bracket of disgusting that I'm gonna have to do a rant on in the coming year because it's only getting more unscrupulous. Anyway, Suicide Squad. Or should I be calling it Unalive Squad now, like all the YouTube videos using a really tasteless term because advertisers and algorithms are gutting the shit out of their vocabulary. Despite the car crash of systems, the actual content is rote limited fluff like that of so many looter-shooter time wasters. And it's broken up by long, boring dialogue, loot box openings, and other padding. Same old, same old. A perfect encapsulation of so-called AAA swill. It's not a terrible game. It's simply another one.
Little Big Adventure! That new one that was shit!
Little Big Adventure, Twinson's Quest, is almost impressive in how badly made it is. This remake of a classic PS1 action-adventure did make mechanical improvements to the clunky and honestly not all that great original, but was full of so many audio-visual glitches and outright broken elements that I was floored. It's not just the frequency, but the immediacy. From almost the very start, I encountered busted NPC pathfinding, out of sync and repeating sound effects, extreme object clipping, pre-made animations somehow playing in wrong directions and places, parts of the HUD shunting out of place and partially off screen, getting trapped in loops of interactions I was trying to walk away from, like holy foreskins. But wait! There's more! Disappearing floor textures, map controls losing function, dialogue boxes playing twice or needing to be confirmed twice before playing, or not matching the voice lines. These cock-ups and much more begin the moment the game starts and don't end until the end. I am in awe at how comprehensively this game screws up. Then we get to the fact the soundtrack isn't as energetic as the original, the new visual style kind of makes stuff look dead, and a lot more could have been done to fix the awful combat and mediocre exploration. A straight-up defective product. Titchit's breast is best left well alone.
New world! Aeternum!
I was addicted to New World Aeternum for several weeks this year, obsessively playing, farming, grinding, and doing my best to assure people that my addiction was not an endorsement, but an indictment. New World is not quite a new game, being an overhauled redo of a 2020... Is it 2020? Craig, is it 2022, the MMO? Who the fuck cares? But I feel I have to count this version among 2024's shittiest releases. Amazon embraced every manipulative, time-wasting aspect of MMO gaming, all the ways in which a game can pull shit we'd accept from no other game in no other genre, yet gets a free pass when MMOs do it for some fucked up reason. Fast travel is restricted arbitrarily, every little bit of progress takes obscenely long, storage capacity is limited even for the storage sheds that don't share their cocking contents between towns. You get the picture, falling out the bad MMO tropes tree and hitting every branch. The biggest shame is that Aeternum lays the groundwork for a great action game. Unlike with most MMOs, the combat is actually pretty good. Each weapon feels unique, and the most basic and practical of weapons can still unlock audaciously over-the-top attacks. If they hadn't been such greedy ass giraffes and gone for the most shameless genre imaginable, Amazon could have made a really nice game. Instead, it's a squalid MMO full of obscenely expensive microtransactions and a battle pass that will constantly bug you about its existence if you dare touch it. A dirty Bernard that I couldn't cut myself off from until ADHD made me get bored, it's a great example of why addictive should not be used as an unqualified compliment to a game. It's got fishing in it though. I fucking hate MMOs.
Sker Ritual!
When I can barely remember a game, it usually means that I found the thing mediocre, so unremarkable as to not even be worth the designation of bad. Indeed, I sometimes think a 5 out of 10 can be more damning than the 4 numbers below it, as simply being boring is one of the worst things a piece of media can be. Sker Ritual, however, is able to be both forgettable and fucking terrible, a duality deserving of being one of 2024's shittiest games. Seriously though, I can't remember much outside of the horrendous moments when gameplay would completely softlock and stutter to bloody buggery. What did I say about it in my review on the Jimquisition.com, a website full of exquisitely written, informative, and universally agreed with video game reviews? Let's have a read here. Sker Ritual continues the trend of online games being borderline unplayable at launch, and that's about all it contributes to the medium of interactive entertainment. Squalid matchmaking is only half the issue. The other half is made up of technical oversight, bad ideas, and all the stability of a damn weeble. Sker's 4 stages are laborious, largely unentertaining affairs that take about 30 minutes to complete, though some of that time will be spent trying to read the minuscule text detailing your objectives. I shouldn't have to squint at a big 4K television screen, but some of this text is prank-sized. The UI is a frigging mess as it is, visual gibberish. Despite how basic it is, everything feels like a slog, and objectives take ages to complete without anything dynamic or unpredictable ever happening. Weirdly, ditching your teammates retains your XP, while waiting to be disconnected another way does not. I've never seen a game so ineptly balanced that the most rewarding way to play it is to constantly rage quit. Matchmaking is utterly atrocious, a laggy mess with frequent extreme frame rate dips. There's a dedicated button to yell or whistle at a pitch best described as fuck off. Terribly balanced, broken in several ways, and barely able to support the online mode it's pushing, Sker Ritual is a waste of time. Nobody and nothing needs Sker Ritual's bullshit, least of all Sker Ritual. Ah yeah, I remember it now, it was fucking shit. Thank God for me writing reviews again, really helps with this list. Or is it Sker Ritual?
Transformers! Galactic Trials!
A Transformers racing game that integrates speedy vehicle modes and combative robot modes? Great idea. Transformers Galactic Trials? Bad idea. Bad, vag snorkeling idea. I'm still in awe it costs $40 considering that it looks and feels like one of Apple Arcade's less outstanding mobile games, and is threadbare in the content department. It's a pedestrian racing game with a sperm-tier third-person action game awkwardly bolted onto it like the cut and shut it is. The combat sequences are spectacular in how poorly thought out they are. At times, a race will open up into a sort of arena where you run and gun with an auto-aim that is unpredictable and crap. except it's also still a race. And even right now, many of you will have seen the problem with that. Any player ahead of another is at a distinct disadvantage since they're being perpetually blasted in the arse. And not in the way I like. You know, with, like, cocks and dildos and that. You can turn around to shoot back, but then you can't see either the traps or the mobs ahead. Your only real tactic is to hope. Galactic Trials' track and vehicle physics are frig to all grundlery, adding to the sense that races come down to luck. You can suddenly fly off the side of the road, bounce pads can bonk you into ceilings or not jump you far enough, invisible bumpers or sudden momentum losses can simply manifest at random, and of course you can always just clip through the floor like you're in a bad asset flip. And its best, Transformers Galactic Trials is a barren game with little appreciable differences between characters, a ton of contrived grinding, and gameplay bearing an intense dearth of intensity. 40 fucking buccanings by the manky shaft of Mumra.
Nappa's descendant! Star Wars Hunters!
Did we have one shitty hero shooter this year? No, we had at least 2 hero shitters this year. I mean hero shooters, wait no, I mean hero shitters. Honestly though, calling Star Wars Hunters a hero shooter might be pushing it simply because it's such a void of entertainment it should bypass the designation of genre and just go straight in the bin. Simultaneously releasing on mobile and console, so you know it's gonna be good. Star Wars Hunters is a freemium shooter that does the bare minimum to qualify as working software for the primary purposes of financial exploitation. One of the most obscenely grindy games I've played in a while. Upon starting the game, you'll find only one character unlocked, and it's the same one for all players, which really made launch day riveting. Other characters are unlocked on a linear track over the course of fuck knows how long, though the obfuscating, over-designed home screen constantly shows you locked characters wearing premium cosmetics just to try and needle you. Usually, you're supposed to get FOMO by encountering other players with premium cosmetics, but this game's trying to manufacture the FOMO by shoving the cosmetics in your face and saying, please buy them. What, did they not trust that enough players would buy them naturally? I find their lack of faith fucking hilarious. Oh, and the game's most marketed character isn't even an unlock, instead only obtainable through a purchase. This game has the mind of a thorough cunt. Ultimately, Star Wars Hunters is just another shitty free-to-be-prey mobile game, selected as this year's representative for all shitty free-to-be-prey mobile games, only it's also a Star Wars game, which means it's inevitably targeting children with its vile and vicious predation. Also, it's funny that despite being an official game, it seemingly doesn't have permission to use official music, so the soundtrack is a cheap knockoff. Ha! Fucking twerp behaviour.
Funko Fusion!
Funko Fusion is a gift to all who hate Funko Pops, as few things make a better case for how the soulless brand of plastic tat has homogenized pop culture than a game that seeks to make Masters of the Universe, Scott Pilgrim, Jurassic Park, Umbrella Academy, Hot Fuzz and the fucking thing coexist in a single product. And this really is a product more than a game. A product flogging products based on art commodified as products. Context is under threat in many areas of our culture, with media especially finding itself robbed of meaning. Gratuitous crossovers between intellectual properties have transformed the very concept from a special event to a mundane occurrence, with a little left to be excited for and such little respect paid to context that the murderous sex criminals from A Clockwork Orange can attend a Looney Tunes basketball game without anyone involved asking if it's appropriate. There's no such thing as appropriate anymore. Only appropriation. That is the executive-led attitude Funko Fusion exemplifies. It doesn't matter what the creative work once meant to the fine fuckos at Funko, it's all just IP. IP. Just brands to be absorbed into brands and squirted out to brand fans. The Hot Fuzz level really showcases it, as NPCs repeat their lines from the movie for literally no reason. It's supposed to just be good because you recognise it, except who the fuck is even getting excited for Hot Fuzz amidst the players of this kid's game? Like, presumably the game is not explicitly interested in some clapped out 40-year-old like me, but I'm the one to whom most of the game's references will make a lick of sense. And it doesn't matter, does it? It's all existing IP, no imagination required, and people know the names. Good enough. If I step off my soapbox, I can say it's also just a terrible game in general. It plays like if the LEGO games were made by people who hate LEGO and games. An unsatisfying mess with soapy controls, ineffectual combat, no real balancing, balked AI, ugly graphics, and plenty of bugs. Everything about it feels archaic and repetitive to an everything-numbing degree, unresponsive, unwieldy, unbloody rewarding, prone to soft locking, and wasting a ton of time in the process due to terrible checkpoints. Missing audio, inconsistent cutscene skips despite levels designed to railroad manufactured replayability. It's awful. Just plain fucking awful. Its use of horror content resembles those creepy YouTube videos designed to appeal to kids, only to try and fuck them up with disturbing imagery. Like, I find it really quite alarming. The fact parents will have bought this busted, hideous, KFC-sponsored game for their kids this Christmas is sort of legit infuriating. Also, the First Thing level has you shooting the heads clean off aggressive Norwegians. The Thing is one of my favourite movies of all time. Funko Fusion is an insult to art.
Puppet Master! Game!
Oh my god, Puppet Master the game. Look, I love Puppet Master, kind of. Most of the films, like much of Full Moon's output, are so bad as to not even qualify for fun B-movie status. Yet I watched Puppet Master 2 at like 5 years old thanks to caregivers who didn't give a fuck, and I've been fascinated since. My replica blade is one of my favourite things, though it's not quite as stunning as my prop blade skull from the actual production of Puppet Master The Littlest Reich. Now, to the untrained eye, this might just look like a small, shitty resin skull. Admittedly, to the trained eye, it also looks like a small, shitty resin skull. That's all it is. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Oh, but somehow this game is worse than even retro Puppet Master. It may be free, albeit propped up by pathetically priced costumes, but that's no excuse for what a black hole of competence Puppet Master the game is. Its first mistake is being yet another licensed asymmetrical horror game in a market with too many of them, but it's far more wretched by even that cottage industry standards. As far as modes, you've got a straightforward deathmatch or 8 pages bullshit TM across a few dreary maps, with gameplay that does nowhere near enough to be the cat and mouse experience it envisions, since players just circle, strafe and spam their sloppy attacks. I really would just once like to see these old horror films get turned into fun and interesting games. In fact, I still say Puppet Master should have a game that plays out like Monster Hunter, with the puppets working to bring down and kill humans. Just give me something that isn't an asymmetrical multiplayer game. Characters are inconsistent when it comes to number of abilities or even basic usefulness. Despite having been in early access, the launch version felt woefully unfinished and unbalanced. Matches are lengthy and boring, content is just above piss all, and the presentation is a fucking embarrassment of basic overlay, simplistic visuals and barely present audio. Also, people aren't playing it because not only is it bad, it's a fucking multiplayer game based on fucking Puppet Master, and what the fuck? And it's buggy as all buggering, because why wouldn't it be? Buggy and empty and vapid, and the DLC is pitiful. Oh, and the game's official Discord is full of whiny piss babies who could neither handle my review nor express it without boringly inevitable casual queer phobia.
Shut the fuck up, fucking.
Nice community you got there, PM to the TG. Maybe if they weren't wasting their time crying for literal hours over one obscure writer's opinion and actually played the game they're filling their diapers over, Puppet Master would have been more populated and I'd have gotten more than a handful of fucking games in. Well, there you have it, you fucking crandles. I hope you enjoyed the top 10 shittiest games of 2024. I sure didn't, because I had to play them. I played every single one of them, including Funko Fusion, for hours. I'm 41 in 2 days, and I've spent hours of this year playing Funko fucking Fusion. Oh, Jesus Christ. That is actually what's happened. Where are we? Okay, yes, that's it. The top 10 shittiest games of 2024, all of them are rubbish, etc, etc. Thank God for me. We will see you next year. Unfortunately. So much time on Funko Fusion. So little time left.